Can you hear me?
Good morning. I can hear you well.
Yeah.
Can you hear the rooster singing?
Yes, I can. Where do you live?
Sunday afternoon, the early bird gets the worm.
Yeah. So 7:30 a.m. in Brazil. So yeah, thank you very much for waking up early on a Sunday.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
That's okay, Lucas. Yeah.
I'm natural from Rondônia, it's a state in the north of Brazil.
Yes.
And I'm currently living in Uberaba, Minas Gerais.
All right.
I graduated in electrical engineering in at the Technology Federal University of Paraná.
Yeah.
Em português isso, UTFPR, Universidade Tecnológica Federal do Paraná.
Yeah.
In 2019.
2019, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And since then, are you working as an electrical engineer, or?
Yes, I participated in an internship in a irrigation company.
Yep.
And I was hired there, and I've been there since then. And I've started as a product developer, like an analyst, and I did some work as service, like technical assistance in remote control of a irrigation system.
All right.
And now I'm more like a field work.
Yeah. I'm just taking.
Yeah, feel free to ask me anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just afraid of this getting in my way to explain how I'm using like my knowledge to solve problems, because it's much more of a like physical work to do.
Yeah.
Not as much development that it was before in the product development.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah. And when you graduated as electrical engineer, did you have some sort of a major or like an area that you focused or not?
Like officially, it's like just a generic engineering.
Yeah.
I don't know how if I can say it like that. Like it's very broad. But in the university itself, I would say that it's more focused on power systems and electronics, and a little bit of control as well.
Yeah.
Automation. Yeah. My final thesis, like my final project, was a automation project. I built a machine.
All right.
And that's something that I want to use on the career episodes.
Yeah. All right. Okay, good. And have you been to Australia already or not?
Yeah, I've been there actually. I have an aunt that lives there.
Oh, all right.
And I once kind of paused my graduation to spend a year in Sydney.
Oh, all right.
Where I would help her with the kids in exchange for a place to live, and food to eat.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like I totally love it, and I got a taste of it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to come back to finish my graduation because I felt that it was important to me, and now I'm feeling that each day that passes is a day that I see that my goal is to go back there but not to live as a immigrant and doing that hard work that I respect a lot.
Yes.
But that's not something that I want to. For me, I would like a better quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah, and those type of work, it's I think it's part of the journey of everybody here in Australia. I myself, when I arrived, I was cleaning toilets and doing dishes, all of those things for almost 1 year. So it's a job like any other job. But you're right. You studied a lot. You graduated as an engineer, and obviously you want to contribute to the profession. Good. All right. So Lucas, what's your question? What do you think that can be a little bit of a problem, or what are you thinking about?
The first thing that I would like to understand better, like I read the MSA booklet.
Yeah.
What I would like to hear from you is, like, in a few words, what's the difference between professional, technician, and associate engineer?
Yeah.
And if I apply to one of those categories, if I could be approved in another one. I mean, I applied for the professional engineering, and they say, "Yo, you have a lot of field experience, and I think that you would fit better on this other category, technician, engineer." I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Yeah. Sometimes depends on the way that you write your career episodes. Sometimes Engineers Australia, they may assess you, because you're right, there are three categories: the categories of professional engineer, the second category actually engineering technologist, which is similar to the tecnólogo in Brazil, and then the other one is engineering associate, which is similar to the technical or technician or technical in Brazil. So the important thing, well, first, the differences between them. One is that for the professional engineer, Engineers Australia, they need to assess your degree as being like equivalent to an Australian bachelor degree, equivalent to like 4 years of bachelor degree. The engineering technologist usually is used to be called here Bachelor of Technology, but now they even call him Bachelor of Engineering Science, which is usually 3 years of a bachelor degree, so 3 years. And then the engineering associate, it's usually equivalent to 2 years of associate degree, or even an advanced diploma here in Australia. So that is a basic difference in terms of the years of study. The other difference is obviously the activities and the tasks that you performed working in engineering. The professional engineer, you will see that there are all of the three categories. They have 16 competencies that you need to address, depending on the category that you apply for. But you'll see that there is a slight difference between the competencies depending on the category. For professional engineers, obviously, you are more autonomous. You design things. The analysis is much more complex. So pretty much you design and develop things. For the technologist, it's a lot of, as you mentioned, field work, a lot of labs as well. You work in the laboratory, you did some inspection and testing. Quality control usually is technologist. For example, if you design the process of testing something, So you came up with a new way to test something, a material or a process. So this is the job of the professional engineer. Once you design that process of testing something, and then somebody implements that, that is the technologist. So there's a subtle difference, because the professional engineer, it will design the process, it will design things, it will design a part. Electrical engineers, they design power systems, they design electrical systems, they design transmission lines, those sort of things. And the technician, obviously, it's usually Engineers Australia, they do the assessment usually for the electrical, pretty much for the drafts person. So electrical engineering drafts person, for example. So if you do AutoCAD and you kind of come up with the drawings, so that would be the engineering associate level. But you'll see, and thank you very much, Lucas, for joining my mentoring program. You will see that I've got in one of the modules, there are some terminologies that are important to be used, because a lot of the difficulties of especially us overseas engineers is about terminology. Sometimes engineers, professional engineers, they are classified as technologists or engineering associates because they ended up using the wrong terminology. Because English is not our mother language, and then when you are writing, you could be writing one particular experience, but because you're not familiar with the terminology, you ended up writing whatever terminology, and that does not categorize as a professional engineer. So you'll see that in one of our modules there in the classes, I've got an entire module just about professional engineer terminologies. So you need to make sure that when you are writing your career episodes, you use those terminologies to describe an activity that you did.
It's like keywords.
Keywords, right? Yes. For example, design, I have designed, my example, I'm a civil engineer. When I did my career episode, I designed under self-supporting, undercovered sports ground, quadra coberta, usando telhas autoportantes, for example. So I designed that thing. So the terminology is that I have designed a self-supporting undercover sports ground. So designed is the terminology. Instead of I drew up the plans, because some people, they may say, I drew up the plans for the self-supporting undercover sports ground. When in fact you want to say that you actually designed the thing, you calculated the thing, but when you say that you drew up the plans,
that's a draft person.
It's a draft person. But because sometimes people think that because people like myself and probably a lot of overseas engineers, we think in Portuguese and then we try to translate in English, and some of the terminologies, they're not the same. You think that oh, design is what? Design is drew, perhaps something like that. Project, you don't project something, because in Portuguese we say projetar, and then you would think that I have, I projected I don't even know if that verb exists. I projected an electrical system, for example. You could be understanding that you want to say that you projetou, but in this case you designed. The verb project is then to forecast in the future. So it's something different. And then people ended up making those mistakes, and the assessor can just assess what he or she is reading. So,
and obviously a higher professional. Like the professional engineer can do the work of a technology or a associate, but the other way is not true. Like the associate cannot do the work of a professional one. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yeah. Because in the engineer associate one, because the knowledge is much more limited as well. We're talking about the engineer associate, a 2 year a 2 year qualification, and then the professional engineer, we're talking about a 4 years qualification. So it's going to be, although the engineer associate may have some idea about design, but is not to the depth of a professional engineer. But you also need to be careful that when you're writing your career episodes, even though you are a professional engineer, and even if you have done a lot of the technologist or the engineering associate tasks, it's not a very good idea to write those things too much, because the assessor may think that you just did a lower level activities. So, and therefore they could be classifying you as technologist or engineering associate. So,
Right.
yeah. You can include,
Right.
obviously, drafting in your career episode, as long as that was part of the whole design process. Then it's okay. But if your main focus is drafting, then it's probably not a good idea.
Got it.
Yeah.
About working as an engineer. So I validate my diploma, my degree, my qualification.
Yep.
And then I gotta have like permission to work where
Yes.
where I can prove my experience. Is it different? Is a different process in different regions of Australia? I mean, I will have to look for a job, and I have to first get a job to know which region I'm going to work and which region I have to do the process of getting the permission to work there, or I don't know, I choose a region and then look for a job in that region. I don't know if
that's
I understand.
I think I understood what you want to say. Obviously, trying to find a job, obviously you need to understand what do you like to do, and each state, obviously in electrical engineering, there's lots of things that electrical engineers they can do. For example, you can work with in consulting services, or you can work in delivering projects, on site or in the office. That's two different things that you can do. Some people, they love to work in the office. They don't like to go to the site. Other people, they like to go to the site. They don't like to just stay in the office. So this is one thing that you need to kind of understand. What do I like to do? And then, all right, let's say that you want to go to the site. If you want to go to the site, then there are states that they have more projects. So New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland, for example, they are the three states that probably they have more projects on site. And then within electrical engineering, do you want to do mining? Do you want to do roads and tunnels? Do you want to do commercial industrial buildings? Do you want to do power generation, power transmission, power distribution? So you need to understand what area you would like to do. And then once you think, all right, I would like to do work with power generation or power transmission or distribution, whatever. What states are having more projects like this? And then you can start doing some research, trying to find the sort of projects that they are perhaps phasing out coal generation electricity and perhaps going to more green sources. If you like to work with green sources, perhaps, all right, so Queensland is doing hydrogen power plants. They're planning to do hydrogen power plants. Would I like to work with that? Oh, I'd love to work with that. So maybe go to Toowoomba. I think that in Toowoomba they planning to do some hydrogen power plant. So, and then obviously go to Toowoomba. You can apply for jobs there. Toowoomba is a city that's about 140 kilometers west of Brisbane. So it is regional. It's not that bad. I don't know Uberlandia, but it's probably the size of, yeah, Uberlandia is probably slightly bigger. Toowoomba may have 500,000 people. So it's not that big, but it's not that small. So that could be an option. Or you may think, I would like to work with tunnels. Tunnels, there's a lot of electrical infrastructure in tunnels, for example. And Brisbane here, or Queensland, we're building a big tunnel here. In New South Wales and Victoria, they're building a lot of roads and tunnels there as well. So if you want to work with infrastructure, perhaps then you need to go to Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, try to find some of those projects there. If you want to work with mining, perhaps you go to Western Australia. They've got more mining there. And if you want to do electrical engineering in mining, perhaps you need to go there. There's a different lifestyle, obviously, because the mines are usually far away and you need to be camping, be on site, away from your family, whatever, if you come with your girlfriend or whatever. But that's how you kind of structure your job research. And then you need to think about really apply for jobs that are suitable to your visa. If you come as an international student, for example, you will be able to work just part-time and temporary jobs. So if you try to find full-time permanent jobs, you may not get it, not even a phone call, because one, your visa doesn't allow you to work full-time, and because your visa is temporary, is a student, you can't get a permanent full-time job. So you need to then apply for temporary part-time jobs. But you mentioned that your girlfriend is a student of Marcia, so Marcia can certainly help you to try to direct you in the right place where you probably have better chances to get a job. But the important thing is where you can get your visa easier.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they go, all right, I'll go to Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane. And,
I just want to go where it's easier to get there, you know.
It's important for you to get your visa first. Obviously, living in Brisbane or Sydney and Melbourne is great. You lived already in Sydney, so you know how it is. But it's more difficult to get a visa. When I came to Australia, it was easier. I came in 2005. I got my permanent visa in 2008. And I was in Brisbane because it was easier. Nowadays, there's a lot of competition. So you need to go to the regional areas. And regional areas, you're not talking about, in the middle of nowhere. Adelaide is regional area. Perth is regional area. Even Gold Coast here, next to Brisbane, is regional area. Newcastle in Sydney is regional area. So you can go to those places and still being regional, get more points, all of those things that a good migration agent will help you. But it's certainly important to get visa. Once you get your visa, then you can go to wherever you want. You can then go to Sydney, you can go to Melbourne, you can come to Brisbane, and it's not going to be a problem.
Right. So do you think it's better or easier to find a job being in Australia than looking for it from Brazil. Like, I was thinking to have everything ready, just to after that going to Australia. But
Yeah.
as you speak, I can see that maybe it's easier to have like face-to-face conversations and everything with the employers.
Yeah, it's nowadays, obviously, it's not impossible to get a job, let's say, for example, while you are in Brazil, and then you can come here. But nowadays, it's probably very difficult for many reasons. I already went, I think it was back in 2009, I recruited an engineer. We needed a pavement engineer. A pavement engineer that had a very good knowledge of DTIMS. DTIMS is a asset management system that calculates pavement deterioration, etc., etc. And in Australia, it was very difficult to get that professional. So we ended up bringing a pavement engineer from South Africa. So we gave him a temporary visa at that time. We paid for his relocation and everything else. All up, it cost kind of $35,000 just the process of bringing somebody to Australia. So you need to think that for a company to spend about, and that was back in 2009. So nowadays probably is about $50,000 to bring somebody from, let's say, Brazil to here. So you need to think that for a company to bring and spend $50,000 on a professional to bring from overseas country to here, the company needs to be really, really keen to bring somebody from overseas. The first thing, the company will probably need to have lots of difficulties to find the same professional here in Australia. Because here in Australia, you pay $15,000 for a recruitment company or $20,000, and then you will get somebody. But if the company even paying $20,000, they cannot find good professionals, they'll have to then go to advertise overseas and perhaps be open to pay $50,000 extra on top of the recruitment to bring somebody over. So although it's not impossible, but it's very difficult, especially because of those reasons. It's a lot of expenditure for a company to bring somebody, unless you have a skill that is very, very difficult to have here. The market is very hot at the moment because of the pandemic. I was reading that in Engineers Australia magazine that in those 2 years of the pandemic, every year Australia didn't have 17,000 engineers coming to Australia. So before the pandemic, about 17,000 engineers were coming to Australia. In 2 years, per year. So in 2 years, around 34,000 engineers that didn't come to Australia. So that created a big gap in the supply of engineers in Australia. And I can guarantee to you, because we are hiring, and electrical engineers, for example, it's almost impossible. We just hired one electrical engineer last week, and out of all candidates, we just found one. We couldn't even, and this one was because he was a contractor, he was working with us already. The others, no, not good, because they need to have, especially with us, they need to have the electrical engineering plus the project management and the delivery aspect of that. So
I will send you my CV.
Yes. So
Don't worry.
yeah, so it can be done, but yeah, it is a difficult situation. And states like Queensland, for example, I don't know if you heard, but Queensland, for you to provide professional engineering services, you need to be registered professional engineer of Queensland, RPEQ. And that's another difficulty. You validate your qualification, and after that, you need to register in the Board of Professional Engineers here in Queensland, which is like the CREA in Brazil. If you're not registered here in Queensland, and if you provide professional engineering services without being registered or without being supervised, you actually committing a criminal offense. So here in Queensland, it's much more difficult to get engineers because they need to be registered as well. Or
just a question.
Yeah.
This registration, it's about work experience. It's like that process of recognizing the work experience and proving to Queensland that you are able to do your work. How is this process?
Sort of, yeah. It's what you call stage two of the engineers. Stage one is usually the validation of the qualification, and then stage two is usually after 3 years or 4 years of experience, where you can demonstrate that you can work autonomously. You don't need supervision, and then you become like here with Engineers Australia, you become a chartered professional engineer, CP-Eng, or with Professionals Australia, which is another organization, you become RP-Eng, registered professional engineer. So it's the next phase of the engineer here in Australia. Once you become stage two qualified, pretty much you're telling to the industry that you are competent enough to work unsupervised. So you don't need supervision to work. You can provide professional engineering services. Yeah. So all engineers, they should be looking for this stage two after they get their qualification validated.
And is there a expiration date for the validation? Like, once I got the validation, do I have like a specific period of time to go forward on the process of getting my experience recognized and going to Australia and all that stuff?
Yeah, no, the validation itself does not have an expiration date. What usually happens when you're applying for a visa, once you get your validation, you will get a letter, an approval letter from Engineers Australia, and that has a date. Sometimes what happens is that when you're applying for a visa, if your letter is older than 3 years, the Department of Home Affairs or Immigration Department, they're probably going to ask you a renewal letter. So an up-to-date letter. So then you need to write to Engineers Australia and ask for a new letter. They're probably going to charge you an administration fee or something. But the validation itself doesn't expire. You don't need to do everything again.
Right. Is there I think that question is more for the experience validation. Is there a minimum time per job title or function to be considered as a valid experience?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lucas. Not really. The experience is not really the time. For example, I started this experience in January and I finish in, let's say, June. You can use shorter experiences The only thing is that because you need to address 16 competencies, if you end up choosing an experience that was very short, perhaps you're not going to have all elements to address the 16 competencies. Or if you do, they could be very, very shallow, superficial. And you will see in the mentoring program that I advise the students that the career episodes, they need to be very deep and solid evidences. So the booklet advises you or suggests you for you to choose complex engineering experiences. Because complex, especially because you need to address 16 competencies. If you choose a very simple engineering experience, you're probably not going to be able to address all the 16 competencies because the experience is going to be so simple that in 10 paragraphs, you'll be able to explain everything. When in fact, you probably need about 20 paragraphs or 25 paragraphs. And if it's very simple, then you don't really have much to say. So,
right. Yeah. But that's talking about the CDR, right?
Yes. Yeah, the competency demonstration report. Yeah.
Right. And what about like that other stage of recognizing the experience and my work experience?
So you're talking about
is it similar?
RSEA?
Yeah.
Yeah, RSEA is the Relevant Skilled Employment Assessment. Yeah, that is more like a migration process because you're recognizing your work experience to get points for your migration process. It's not quite the validation process. I don't really know much about it, but you don't need to write anything about that. You just need to provide the documentation. So there's the primary documents and the secondary documents, and and you need to provide those documents there. So primary documents mainly your reference letters, and secondary documents are the documents that will support as evidences of what is in your reference letter, like your pay slips, tax returns, social security statements, superannuation or FGTS statements in Brazil, your contract of employment, like your carteira de trabalho, those sort of documents that usually issued by the government that will then prove that you worked in that company for the period that you said that you work for the company.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. One last question is, the reference letter has to be from the HR department or some previous supervisor of my work can sign it with all his personal details and company details on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. The reference letter needs to be needs to be from the company. So let's say that you work for company A and your supervisor at that time was John. And then John left and went to work in company B, for example. Your reference letter needs to be from the company A. If John gives you a reference letter from company B, it's not going to work because engineers in Australia say, well, you said that you work for company A, and now you've got a reference letter from company B. I understand that John was your supervisor, but we need a letter from company A. If John is not working there in company A anymore, then it can be from the HR department or maybe John's manager that somehow got to know you as well or some company representative that Engineers Australia, if they need it, they can then ring the company and say, Lucas worked. Just want to talk about Lucas that worked there in the company in this time. So yeah, but the letter needs to be from the company that you worked for.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I think it was everything that I made some notes. I think I have a lot of questions, but focused on the migration process itself. But
Right.
it might be better to get a migration agent to assist me on that. Right?
Yeah, I might. Yeah, I know a few migration agents, and in our VIP group, I'm going to include you guys next week in the VIP group for the mentoring. I might talk to some of the migration agents and invite one of them to give us, the students, a session with question and answers. Then you guys can talk to them and ask questions, and then see what could be a good pathway to follow.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you, man, for your work that you do, like creating content to all the engineers around the world to access it from free platforms such as YouTube and Instagram. And I feel very confident with your work, and I'm very confident to participate in a class, and I know that we will get the best of it.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Lucas.
See you on
thanks for the feedback.
The class.
Thanks for the feedback, and certainly I look forward to working with you in the mentoring there, and for you to have a successful journey. Perhaps you could be the 20th engineer to be approved as my student.
Yes, for sure, man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you very much, Lucas. And yeah, you're more than welcome to keep watching the live session. I'm going to have a quick chat with the audience about what they need to do to become an approved engineer in Australia. And you gave already the first step. You enrolled to my mentoring program.
Yeah, I would say that. Spoiler alert! Like I already said, it just enrolled to the mentoring program.
Yes, and from Brazil, I know the big difference in currency. Australian dollar and Brazilian reais, Yeah, thank you very much for your trust, and I'm pretty sure that we can make your application a very, very strong application, and you will be successful in there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, yeah, thanks, Lucas. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great conversation we had with Lucas, and I'll keep going with our live session, how you can become the next approved engineer in Australia. And a few things that I would like to say. One, to congratulate Lucas and my other students that joined my mentoring program last week or this week, and they gave the first step. They overcame the procrastination. And Lucas, when he was talking to me on Instagram about, saying, Gerson, I will do your mentoring because I procrastinate a lot, and if I don't do it, I'm not going to do it. So he committed himself. As I said, he's in Brazil, the exchange of currency and all of those things. But he was clever because he did it with the webinar offer when I was giving $800 discount. Now we still get $600 discount until midnight tonight. And I'm going to explain to you, if you guys may be still thinking about not sure if the mentoring program is for you, I'm going to explain how the mentoring is going to work. So I'm just going to share my screen so you guys can see that. So I'll probably disappeared. Let's see if I can put myself back there. Yes, I can. All right, I think you guys now can see my screen and I am there. So, and if you have questions about the validation process, or if you have questions about the mentoring program, please feel free to put in the comments, and I'll be answering those very soon. I will paste the page in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, so you guys can have a look. I'm just pasting that. So, but I'll explain everything. So if you go to my website, www.validationmentoring.com, you can see that you've got $600 discount plus the 9 bonuses. The normal investment for the mentoring program is $1,497, but I'm giving $600 discount, so you can pay $897 plus the 9 exclusive bonuses. And that's closing tonight, midnight. And you can see that there are 2 videos there, one in Portuguese, another one in English. In the video, I explain everything about the mentoring program, absolute everything about the 9 bonuses, all the investment, and everything else. So very quickly, you could be asking yourself, what are the bonuses? So the bonuses themselves, they valued at $1,800, but I'm including those bonuses for free when you join the mentoring program. And don't need to be worried. The mentoring program, again, is not $1,800. It's $897 at the moment, just that. And you get the 25 modules, the classes with the 25 modules, the classes that I was talking with Lucas. You have access to that, where I explain step by step what you need to do to prepare your validation process. I explain every single competency. I give a lot of examples. I'm going to show you the portal, how it works. You have an idea. And these are the bonuses that I give as part of the promotion. Question and answer sessions. Once every 2 months, I do a question and answer sessions with my students, where obviously for 90 minutes I am there to answer questions from my students. I have a VIP group in Telegram with all my students, where it's a group mentoring. So my students, they ask questions in Telegram, and then I answer those questions in Telegram. And why is that? Because it's a group mentoring. If Lucas has a question, and if he asks in the group, I will reply in the group, and I reply to everybody. So people, they have the answer. If they have a question, everybody will have the answer. So I can help everybody. Even if you didn't have that question yet, you could be having that question perhaps a little bit later on. So that is the VIP group in Telegram. And then I wrote also 3 ebooks. Because of my experience in getting jobs and my experience in recruiting for engineers and project managers, I wrote 3 ebooks that I'm giving to my students as well, because I know that they will be validated, and after they get validated, they need to get a job. So I wrote my ebook about 7 tips for curriculum vitae, the 7 tips for cover letter, and the 7 tips for professional interview. And this bonus here is one of the most important bonus, comments and feedbacks. I've got a 13 pages document as a bonus where I compiled all the feedbacks and comments that I gave to some of my students. A lot of the do's and don'ts, mistakes and things that they did right. So when you read, or my students, they read this document, it's almost impossible to make a mistake because all the mistakes are already there and they need to just read carefully and don't make the same mistakes. So very valuable bonus here. This one is for you if I've got a challenge there. If you want to finish in 30 days, you can actually finish in 30 days. And this action plan is for you to help you to structure your plan to finish in 30 days or even earlier. I've got one student that she finished in 2.5 weeks. She had pressure of the visa and she finished in just 2.5 weeks. I've got also a catch-up session with the validation formula students. Validation formula is my mentoring program. And I do this catch-up with the ones that already validated, the ones that still validating. So we exchange experiences. And also, I developed an Excel tool to help you to organize your thinking, to help you to organize everything you need to do for your career episodes and your summary statement. So when it comes the time to write it, it's much easier for you to write because obviously you're not going to forget things. You will record here your experiences, and this particular one is actually how to choose a better experience to use in the career episode. So all of those ones, all up is $1,800 worth of bonus that you get for free when you enroll in the program. And then you got the warranty as well. You got 30 days warranty. If you, in 30 days, you think that the classes are not good, that the mentoring group in Telegram is not good, that didn't really help anything in your validation process, you just need to send me an email with a copy of your CDR so I know that you actually tried to do it, and I will return 100% of the money that you paid. I'm not going to discount the charge that I get from PayPal or credit card surcharges, etc. And then there's some testimony videos of some of my students that they got validated. I want to share this one from Erica. It's just 30 seconds. It's an audio that she sent to me when she was validated. I'll share because it's so nice, so spontaneous. Hopefully you guys will be able to listen.
Gerson, eles responderam. Eu tô chorando de alegria aqui. Eles aprovaram meu diploma, graças a Deus, a minha validação, e aprovaram meus 2 anos de Austrália, mais 6 anos no Brasil. Meu Deus do céu, eu não tô aguentando de felicidade. Ai, meu Deus, obrigada, obrigada, obrigada. Eu não tenho nem como te agradecer. Nossa, muito obrigada. Gerson, você não sabe o quanto que você me ajudou. Depois eu vou até escrever um depoimento no Facebook te agradecendo, porque, nossa, muito obrigada. Foi muito essencial, foi muito essencial. Obrigada mesmo.
Yeah, it's a lovely testimony. Thank you, Erica. You deserved every single sweat of your effort. And now she's working as an engineer. She's a civil engineer. She's in Sydney, and she's working now as a civil engineer there. So very, very good. And if you have any questions when you are on the website, you can actually go here, and then it's me. You can ask questions, and I will, if I am online, I will answer. But I will be online until midnight tonight because it's when enrollments are closing. So I've got a question here on Instagram. Say, Where's the question here? Hi, thanks for this video, but will there any coupon code tonight? Well, the coupon code is still $600 discount. That's the special offer. Normally is $1,497, and I'm still giving $600 discount. Unfortunately, those ones that didn't purchase until Monday this week miss out the $800 discount. But now you get $600 discount. It's still a good discount. Maybe it could go up next time. Maybe yes, maybe not. Probably not. I'll probably leave like this. The investment, it's compared to the content that you get. I think it's really cheap. Consultants in the market, they charge you $4,000, $7,000. A lot of people, they ask me if I do consulting services. I don't, but if I was going to charge $9,000 for consulting services, one-on-one consulting. All right, so other questions there from Kelvin. Is it possible to write a career episode where I did all the design and calculation, but all the engineer was the responsible in the ART? Yeah, that's a good question. And it is common, this situation, because I used to be the technical responsible for the company as well. In my ART, or the company's ART, I was the technical responsible for that. And I had other engineers working the company. So although I was the technical responsible, others, they were doing the design. Sometimes, obviously, you can be the co-author of that ART. I'm not sure, Kelvin, if you did the design and calculation, if you ended up becoming the co-author of that ART. But if you did, obviously, it's a good evidence. If you didn't, even if somebody else was the technical responsible in the ART, when you get your reference letter from the company, the director or your supervisor or the HR department will say that you were the responsible for that design or calculation. You can include that in your letter as well. So, and if Engineers Australia ask the question, why your name is not in the ART, then you can explain that the technical responsible for the company was somebody else, but you actually did the design and calculation, was approved by that person, and you can explain that. And Engineers Australia, they know that happens because it happened already a few times. So you did the work. So I can see, yeah, if you did the work and if you can demonstrate that you did the work with the reference letter, yeah, that should be fine. So it's not always that Engineers Australia will ask for a copy of the ART as well. So not always. But if they did, you can explain that the technical responsible was somebody else, but you work for the company and then you did the work yourself. And the reference letter will then demonstrate and prove, signed by your supervisor, obviously, that you did that work. All right. I'll just double check if is there any other questions in YouTube and Facebook. No questions there. I'll just double check if is there any other questions in Instagram. No, it's all good. All right. Well, first of all, thank you very much, guys. And I hope that I can see you in the mentoring program. If you have questions about joining or not joining the program, you have another 2.5 hours to decide, you can send me a direct message in Instagram, or you can go to the website and send a message in the chat there, and I will be here to answer those questions at midnight. I have to obviously wake up until midnight, because then I will remove the website. Not to remove, I'm going to just change the page saying that the enrollments are closed. So 2.5 hours, guys. If you want to give the first step to become the next approved engineer, a good hint is to be part of my mentoring program. Thank you very much, and I'll see you there in the mentoring program. Thank you, and bye-bye.